අංක 19 දොස්තර කාවින්ද ජයවර්ධන මෙවර ගම්පහින් වැඩිම මනාපයෙන් පාර්ලිමේන්තුවට.
Tonight, on First at 9 this Sunday, the 10th of November 2024. Refuted. Brics Summit has not rejected Sri Lanka's membership application, affirms the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the Russian Embassy. International inspection. IMF team scheduled to visit Sri Lanka next week for the third review. Fourth tranche anticipated by the year end. Presidential pledges. President Anuradhisa pledges to release all political prisoners after due consultations. Further promises the return of all confiscated lands in the north. Policy transparency. Curbing corruption alone will not lead to development, says expert. Further claims government must outline income sources to initiate debt servicing within 3 years.
ඔබේ විශ්වාසය දෙනු සෙන්සුරයින් දැන් ළඟම ඇති ෆාමසියෙන් ලබාගත හැක.
කන්ට පරිස්සම් කරගත්තොත් අපි පරිස්සම්.
From Derana, this is Derana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and welcome to Derana First at 9. I'm Aditya Adrisinghe joining you live with the latest in Sri Lanka and around the world. Now taking you straight to your top story this evening, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs refuted reports claiming that Sri Lanka's Brics membership application was rejected at the Brics October summit and called those reports incorrect and misleading. In a statement issued today, the ministry noted that remarks made by Minister of Foreign Affairs Vijitha Herath during last Wednesday's post-cabinet media briefing have been misrepresented by some reports. According to the ministry, Sri Lanka's pending application for Brics membership will be considered by Brics member countries in due course.
During last week's post-cabinet briefing, Cabinet spokesman Minister Vijitha Herath informed reporters that Brics member countries did not expand their membership and therefore Sri Lanka did not secure membership in the summit.
අපි ගිය මාසයේ ගියා රෂ්‍යාවල තිබිච්ච අර බ්‍රික්ස් සමුළුවට අපි අතරම සමාජිකත්වය ලබා ගන්න අදහසෙන් තමයි අපි ගියේ. නමුත් අපිට ඔබ්සර්වර් හැටියටවත් අපිට සමාජිකත්වයක් ලැබුණේ නැහැ.
BRICS සමුළුව
There are currently 9 BRICS member states. While Sri Lanka did request membership, the summit decided not to accept new members. As a result, no new memberships were granted to any countries that applied. The summit members have agreed not to expand the current number of member states. However, we have applied for membership in the New Development Bank and we have been given the opportunity to pursue it. The final decision on this matter will be made by the government. We have engaged the Ministry of Finance to review this proposal and based on their recommendations, we will make a decision.
However, the Minister of Foreign Affairs said that reports suggesting Sri Lanka's application for Brics membership was rejected are incorrect and misleading. In a statement issued today, the ministry noted that as approved by the Cabinet on the 7th of October 2024, Sri Lanka applied for membership in both Brics and the New Development Bank. Following this, the Minister of Foreign Affairs Vijitha Herath communicated Sri Lanka's interest in joining Brics to his counterparts in the Brics member countries, while President Anuradhisa also reached out to his Russian counterpart regarding Sri Lanka's application. At the Brics Outreach Summit held in Kazan, Russia from the 22nd to the 24th of October 2024, Foreign Secretary Aruna Vijayawardena, as head of the Sri Lankan delegation, formally announced Sri Lanka's interest in joining the Brics alliance. According to the ministry, Brics member states endorsed a new category of partner countries at the summit, acknowledging the considerable interest from the Global South in Brics. Additionally, the ministry stated that pending requests for Brics membership, including Sri Lanka's, will be considered by Brics members in due course. Sri Lanka's intention to join the NDB was welcomed by the NDB president. The Sri Lankan Foreign Ministry, in coordination with several government agencies, will assess the procedures and timing for the process. In the meantime, the Russian embassy in Sri Lanka also issued a statement highlighting that Russian BRICS chairship welcomed Sri Lanka's interest in joining the BRICS and that its application will be considered by BRICS in due course in full consultation and consensus, along with bids of numerous other countries who have also applied.
Horizon Campus 2024 Intake 2. Register now.
පිරිපුන් ජීවිතයකට ඔබ සමගින් පෙරට Union Assurance.
Welcome to Cinnamon Life, South Asia's biggest entertainment hub, where awe awaits.
Sadaharita Plantations Limited, celebrating 22 years of your trust.
A group of representatives from the International Monetary Fund, led by IMF's Senior Mission Chief for Sri Lanka, Peter Brewer, is scheduled to arrive in Sri Lanka next week. The team is expected to conduct the third review under the country's Extended Fund Facility Program, which will facilitate the release of the next tranche of the $2.9 billion loan.
Sri Lanka received the first tranche of the Extended Fund Facility Program of the IMF in March 2023 after the IMF Executive Board approved the 48-month EFF program. The Executive Board completed the first review of Sri Lanka's bailout package in December last year, releasing approximately $337 million as the second tranche. Following the successful completion of the second review in June this year, Sri Lanka unlocked the third tranche worth $336 million. Upon completing the third review, Sri Lanka aims to secure the fourth tranche by the end of 2024. Ahead of the third review, a high-level IMF delegation held discussions in October with Sri Lanka's new president, Arugam Bay, and the government's economic team regarding the future of Sri Lanka's IMF-supported program. During the upcoming visit, the IMF delegation is expected to engage in detailed discussions on the current government's economic policies. They will also assess the implementation of prior agreements with the IMF and review recent progress made under Sri Lanka's economic reform program.
Dr. Nilanga Samarasinghe, researcher at the University of Lucerne in Switzerland, says that the Extended Fund Facility from the International Monetary Fund will bring stability to Sri Lanka but not necessarily foster development. Speaking on our current affairs program at Hyde Park with Indivari Amuwatta, Dr. Samarasinghe emphasized the need for Sri Lanka to pursue opportunities to accelerate economic development as it uses the IMF bailout package to establish stability. Commenting on the upcoming general election and recent government changes, Dr. Samarasinghe noted that ending corruption alone will not guarantee future economic development.
Do you think Sri Lanka did not manage the COVID situation well enough, or were you suggesting Sri Lanka suggested in a different way, your model?
Yeah, because we have seen as a developing country, it as an opportunity. Other developed countries after the Second World War, they race from the crisis. If you get the COVID again, you see there was a ban for tourism all over the world, but if you could manage to take kind of portion from the world tourism to here instead of having at the same time having COVID, it will make a huge difference in our country. The new world not allow any country to develop from the traditional ways. We should have some kind of magic way to get this fast economical growth.
What are your observations of this change that we're seeing in Sri Lanka?
NPP government is going to deliver what the people ask to stop corruption. Catch the robbers, but just catching robbers or stopping the corruption won't bring you more $7 billion to the country, and at the same time you cannot bring the country in the development pathway to be a member of the club of developed countries. This point also we see we are going to much more focus on production economy. But if you get the Sri Lanka is the better country for the service economy.
We have taken a number of measures now, from going to the IMF to restructuring debt to having negotiations with bondholders, and the government has assured that debt restructuring will be completed by December.
If you totally believe on the IMF plan, it won't bring much for the country, because it just bring the stability what they ask, because you know we are living in a global village. So if in somewhere if it is collapse, it will be a point to collapse all the system of the world, because many USA citizens and the other foreign citizens have invested here. That's why the IMF support us.
Is there any other way we can do this, if not the IMF?
In 2028, we have to pay at least $7 billion per year. It's a huge challenge because our income also just around 15 billion, but we don't know the plans of government to bring more income to the country. So because after paying this 7 billion, then you need another 25 billion to day-to-day survival. We have to focus on generating income. Then you should have a proper plan, but you just have another 3 years. We are waiting how the government is going to handle this issue. If the government has no proper plans now, we couldn't have a hope on what could be happen in 2028.
Fast track your career from O-levels with eSoft.
After O-levels, start your Australian university degree in just 8 months with ACBT's Foundation Program. Enrollments close on 21st October. Call 071 115 1234 for Colombo or 077 011 3223 for Kandy.
Diabetesol සීනි වලින් පරිස්සම් වන ඔබට අමතක නොවන පෝෂණය. Prime Group ලංකාවේ ප්‍රථම වතාවට හඳුන්වා දෙන land leasing ලේසියෙන් මීටමක්.
Sri Lanka decides 2024.
Now in your election-related updates, all campaigning activities organised in view of the 2024 parliamentary polls are set to conclude at midnight tomorrow. The Election Commission declared pre-election silence effective from midnight tomorrow until the 14th of November, during which all candidates and supporters are prohibited from engaging in any promotional activities. The Commission also noted that election operation officers of candidates are permitted to function until midnight on the 12th of November.
All campaigns organised in view of the 2024 parliamentary election are set to end at midnight tomorrow. The Election Commission urged all candidates and voters to conclude their campaigns and related activities by the set deadline and honour the pre-election silence protocol declared by the top polling office.
All campaigning activities will end at midnight on the 11th of November. Pre-election silence will be effective from midnight on the 11th up until the date of the polls. No promotion activities are permitted during this period. At the moment, candidates have set up election operation officers. All such officers will have to be vacated by midnight on the 12th of November. Only one election office per electoral division is permitted to function after midnight on the 12th of November.
Election-related canvassing will be strictly prohibited during the silent period. None of the candidates or their supporters are permitted to conduct any promotional activities. We urge all candidates, their family members and supporters to not engage in illegal activities. Candidates have employed various modes for promotional activities such as social media, phone calls and other modes during the last few days. We urge them to refrain from using such modes during the silent period. In the meantime, Senior Advisor of the Volunteer Initiatives for Election Watch Organisation and former Chairman of the Election Commission, Mahinda Deshapriya, urged the public to actively take part in the soon-to-be-held democratic exercise by utilising their right of franchise. The general public doubts if political parties are democratic. Their concern is on what benefits they will receive if they vote. They assert that they must get something in return for their vote. That misconception has been publicized. People should not vote like that. Voting is a right of every citizen. We eat and drink to sustain our lives. Similarly, voting is essential to sustain our lives and for our future, since that is how we will decide who will lead us. For that, the people must head to the polls and vote. Therefore, we urge everyone to definitely cast their ballots in favour of any candidate of their preference.
President Anura Dissanayake vows to return all lands confiscated by the government from the Tamil community over security concerns during the height of Sri Lanka's civil war. Speaking at a public rally, the head of state acknowledged the massive destruction inflicted during the span of the three-decade war and pledged to release all political prisoners incarcerated at the moment after due consultations in that regard with the Attorney General.
A public rally of the National People's Power aimed at the 2024 parliamentary election was held today in Vavuniya under the patronage of President Anura Disanayaka.
There are many divisions within this country. In addition to caste divisions, people have also segregated themselves based on race and religion. However, we cannot progress as a nation with those divisions. The primary goal of the NPP is to end all such divisions in this country. What should we do to unite the nation? To that end, it is imperative that we establish one movement comprising members and leaders of all ethnic groups. The NPP is that movement. The NPP failed to disseminate its political vision to the Tamil-speaking community, which led them to support other political parties. However, following the presidential polls this year, those people placed their trust in the incumbent government. In my opinion, the community most satisfied with the result of the presidential polls were the northern Sri Lankans. At the moment, it is crucial that the people vote in favor of the only political alliance that brings all ethnic groups and all people of the north, the south and the east together. The public must ensure the victory of the NPP. The NPP will implement measures to return lands once possessed by the Tamil community, which were later seized by the government over security concerns. We also acknowledge the massive destruction caused by the 30-year civil war. Following consultations with the Attorney General, we will release all political prisoners currently in incarceration. All other political alliances have begun to fall apart. The NPP will obtain more votes this election than it did during the presidential poll. Let us all unite together to build a new nation and take it along a new path.
අපි හදමු අලුත් රටක් අපි අලුත් දිශාවකට මේ රට පරිවර්තනය කරමු ඒ වෙනුවෙන් සිර දෙනා එකතු වෙන්න ඒ වෙනුවෙන් සිර දෙනා පොරබදමු.
Now, leader of the Sarva Jana Balaya Alliance, Dilith Jayavira, proposes the incumbent government to appoint a commission to look into the murders of the former leader and founder of the JVP, Rohana Vijayveera, and the November heroes who lost their lives during past riots. Meanwhile, addressing a public meeting, Jayavira also highlighted the necessity of a scientific and a logical approach to develop the country.
Another public meeting of the Sarva Jana Balaya Alliance aimed at securing the party's victory in the 2024 parliamentary election was held in Gampaha under the patronage of party leader Dilith Jayavira.
A scientific and logical approach is required to develop this country. The Sarva Jana Balaya Alliance seeks to meet that requirement. This country requires a strategic plan for its development. That is the kind of plan usually followed by other nations, but the kind of plan which Sri Lanka has failed to follow. We need a proper plan to ensure that our country becomes a happy nation. The incumbent president failed to fulfill his pre-election promises since he lacked a proper plan to meet those pledges. This is why he requires our support. People hope that President Anura Disanayaka will launch an investigation into the murder of former JVP leader Rohana Vijayveera. Our university colleagues were also murdered during those riots. They were innocent people who lacked power and support from various parties. Once we elected to parliament, we will bring in a proposal to appoint a commission to look into those murders. We will stand with President Anura Disanayaka. Our politics is based on love and affection. Therefore, we request the people to cast their votes in favour of the Sarva Jana Balaya Alliance in the upcoming general election.
අපි ආදරයෙන් ඉල්ලා සිටින්නේ අපි ඔබ මත මේ ආදරයෙන් පළඳන පදක්කම ඉදිරියේ ඔබේ සෙනෙහසේ කතිරේ සලකුණු කරන්න.
Now, former President Ranil Wickremesinghe criticized the incumbent government over its failure to hike the salaries of state and estate workers. Addressing a public meeting in Kottagala, the former president urged the public to vote in favour of the more popular candidates presented by the United National Party in the Nuwara district instead of the unknown candidates nominated by other parties.
A public meeting of the Ceylon Workers' Congress candidates who will be contesting the parliamentary election under the banner of the United National Party in the Nuwara district was held at the Ceylon Workers' Congress party headquarters in Kottagala today. This is the first United National Party meeting that I address. Jeevan Thondaman asserted that he and his colleagues want to contest under the UNP's elephant symbol. We decided to entertain that request. I also included KK Premadasa, a former presidential election candidate, since I won't be contesting. Back in the day, we granted Sri Lankan citizenship to those who did not have either Sri Lankan or Indian citizenship. The late JVP leader Rohana Vijayveera was against that decision. We asked the President to prompt the JVP's apology to these people before contesting the general election. Just take a look at the issues grappling this region. Can they control the cost of living? They said they would increase wages. They particularly said that state workers' wages will be hiked up to 2,000 rupees. We also request the incumbent government to increase the salaries of estate workers. Our team will be the first to pass legislation hiking salaries in the new parliament. They request votes to clean up the parliament, but the people wonder who they vote for. They don't even know the names of the NPP candidates. Do those individuals know how to deal with the IMF? Do they know about the economy? What kind of competence do they have? The other parties have popular candidates. Should we vote in favor of unknown candidates? Is that democracy? That's why we request you in the Nuwara district to cast your vote in before of the elephant symbol on the 14th of November.
Now, leader of the Samagi Jana Balawegaya, Sajith Premadasa, warned the public that Sri Lanka will have to relieve the pain and suffering in the fallout of Sri Lanka's full-blown economic crisis in 2022 if the country fails to make sufficient debt repayments in the year 2028. Addressing a gathering in Navisavella, Premadasa drew the crowd's attention to a purported attempt by the government to shut down Sri Lanka's Triposha factory, an effort which, according to Sajith Premadasa, precedes an attempt to hand over the Triposha distribution to a private company.
The latest iteration of Samagi Jana Balawegaya's public meetings was held in Avisavella yesterday under the patronage of the SJB's party leader Sajith Premadasa.
President Anurukumara Dissanayake once said that he represents the oppressed in society and that he understands the agony of the common man. However, a week after he assumed office, he plotted against all mothers and children nationwide by planning to shut down the Triposha factory. The government is attempting to hand over the Triposha distribution to a private company. I assure you that we will defeat that effort. When they got to know that we are going to publicly advocate against that decision, the government began to deny reports of the Triposha factory's shutdown. So I now ask the government why they published a gazette notification on the 27th of September, just a few days after the incumbent president assumed power. Those who took advantage and capitalized on the suffering of the working class in the recent past are now contesting the general election under the NPP's banner. The person who promised to fight and secure the remaining two-thirds of the teachers' compensation package is now contesting the election. After they tick off their personal political targets, they say that the country's trade unions are useless and that all of them should be dissolved. Please do not be entangled in this web of lies. If this government is allowed to proceed in its current course, by 2028, the country will experience the same catastrophe that it experienced in 2022. Why 2028? The previous government, led by the former president, agreed to resume debt repayments in 2028. If we fail to make sufficient debt repayments in 2028, we will once again be branded a bankrupt nation.
බැරි වෙලාවත් අපිට 2028 දී ඒ ප්‍රමාණවත් ණය ගෙවීමක් කරන්නට බැරි වුණොත් ආපහු රට බංකොලොත් කියලා නම් කෙරේ.
Sri Lanka decides 2024.
Now in other local news, Defence Secretary Air Vice Marshal Sampath Tuyakontha instructed officials to take necessary measures aimed at maintaining security within the Arugam Bay area owing to recent security threats. The relevant instructions were issued during the Defence Secretary's visit to the Eastern Province, specifically focused on reviewing the security situation at Arugam Bay. Defence Secretary Air Vice Marshal Sampath Tuyakontha further instructed officials to tighten security within the surrounding areas of tourist attractions around the island. He further highlighted that security measures must be implemented in such a way that it does not hinder the freedom of local and foreign tourists. It was also noted that building confidence among visitors to the island and ensuring their safety are crucial. Now, Indian Navy submarine INS Vela arrived at the Colombo port today on a 3-day formal visit. The visiting submarine was welcomed by the Sri Lankan Navy in precision with naval traditions. INS Vela, a 67.5-meter-long submarine with a crew of 53, is commanded by Commander Kapil Kumar. During the submarine's stay in Colombo, its crew is expected to participate in activities organized by the Sri Lankan Navy to strengthen camaraderie between the two navies. In addition, personnel of the Sri Lankan Navy are expected to visit the submarine to take part in an awareness program on its operational features. The crew members of the submarine are also expected to explore places of interest in and around Colombo. Concluding the official visit, INS Vela will depart the island on Wednesday, the 13th of November. Now in your business news, in a bid to enhance child nutrition and community development of the country, the ATG group of companies inaugurated the group's school nutrition initiative titled Towards a Healthier and Nutritious Nation. This initiative, targeting the United Nations Sustainability Development Goals for the year 2030, is a collaboration between the ATG group and Scaling Up Nutrition People's Forum.
The ATG group of companies inaugurated its expanded school nutrition initiative titled Towards a Healthier and Nutritious Nation at the Martin Wickramasinghe School in Habaraduwa, Koggala recently. This program was implemented under the group's social sustainability pillar for health and well-being, ATG Suraksha, representing a multi-sectoral effort to advance school nutrition and community development in the country with a strong focus on underprivileged communities. The initiative, targeting the United Nations Sustainability Development Goals for the year 2030, is a collaboration between the ATG Group and Scaling Up Nutrition People's Forum. During the flagship event, ATG will expand its weekly meal distribution program at the Martin Wickramasinghe School in Habaraduwa to include interactive nutrition awareness sessions. This aims to strengthen healthier dietary habits within the school community and across underprivileged schools in other districts.
This program, we have been doing it for the last 1 year. We have selected this school and we have chosen a day of the week. Every Wednesday we give them a healthy meal. So this program has been going on from last February. Now what we have done is we have collaborated with Sun Scaling Up with People's Nutrition. We are trying to do a project with them to uplift nutrition value of the school, and we expect Sun to take it over and do the rest of the part. We are supporting Sun to elevate the nutrition standards of this school and put this school into a good prospect.
And now here's a look at some corporate news in brief.
The Airport and Aviation Services of Sri Lanka and a joint venture between Japan Airport Consultants Incorporated and Nippon Koei Company Limited signed a contract agreement for Amendment Number 3 of ongoing design and post-design consultancy services for Bandaranaike International Airport Development Projects Phase 2 Stage 2 project. The Bandaranaike International Airport Development Project Phase 2 Stage 2 is funded by the Japan International Cooperation Agency. The procurement process in that regard is ongoing to commence the construction work of the balance scope of the passenger terminal building and associated works under the relevant project. In other corporate news, Dialog Axiata plc announced its consolidated financial results for the 9 months ending on the 30th of September 2024. The group delivered a strong performance across mobile, fixed line, digital pay television, international and tele-infrastructure businesses, recording a positive core revenue growth of 6% year-to-date. The Dialog Group remitted a total of 35.1 billion rupees to the local government during the first 9 months of 2024. The Ceylon Tobacco Company plc yesterday announced the appointment of Samanmali Priyanvada Chandrasiri, a non-executive director, to its board effective from the 7th of November. In October 2024, Samanmali stepped into a current role as CTC's Group Head of HR and Inclusion, Global Operations and R&D.
That's all the news we have for you tonight. Thank you. Have a great night.